Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm your host and South Central PA Damage Prevention Liaison, Kevin Goldblum, and I'd like to welcome you all to Liaison Library number 8. Our topic today is Coordinate PA and the trailblazing path to Project Triumph. If you're brand new or have questions on Coordinate PA, otherwise known as CPA, then you're in the right place. Today, we will be taking a journey through all of the different stages of CPA, beginning with gaining access, discussing designer and project owner obligations, creating projects in CPA, setting up complex project meetings, and everything else involved with creating a successful complex project in CPA. If you have any questions, please type them into the chat, and we'll get to them at the end of today's Liaison Library. So now, please sit back and relax while we listen to our knowledgeable, helpful, friendly damage prevention liaisons discuss making all of your projects a success. First up, I'd like to welcome Greg Danks, who will be talking about getting access to CPA. Greg, it's all yours.
Thank you, Kevin. Good morning, everybody. Now, other liaisons later are going to get into what you're actually doing in Coordinate PA, but I thought it might be a good idea to go over how you actually get access to it in case you happen to be one of those people who don't have it yet. So first thing you're going to do, you're going to come onto our website. If you don't have an account yet, you've got your little create account button here. You've got another little one hiding for you over here. Sign yourself in. Now, when you create an account on Coordinate PA, you're going to see this applications on the top menu here. If you click on that, you're going to come preloaded with a couple of things. This is my account, so you're not going to have all of this. But one thing that you will have as soon as you create your account is this right here, the CPA designer training video. So it's a pretty short video to watch with a couple of questions to answer at the end. You need to take the test, pass it, and get 100% on the quiz to get access to Coordinate PA. So you'll receive an email from member services the next day. We've got two different ones here. This one on the right is what happens if you do not score 100%. Just says, hey, unfortunately, you didn't get 100%. You'll have to take the quiz again. You could take the quiz as many times as you want. You could take it right after you have immediately failed it. So feel free to keep taking that multiple times if you need to pass it. When you do pass it, you're going to get this one over here on the left. Congratulations, you passed the CPA designer quiz. We're granted access to Coordinate PA. Want to notice that passing that test also gives you access to two more of our applications. Online ticket management, so you can track your tickets on your excavator side. Anything that you're placing, you'll be able to track through online ticket management, as well as web ticket entry. If you have single locate request tickets that aren't associated with whatever complex project or design you're placing in Coordinate PA. So you'll have access to both of those as well. Now, one thing I want to caution you about, if you have taken and passed the web ticket entry quiz first, you may find yourself on something we call intercept status. Traditionally, when someone goes through web ticket entry, there's a similar process to what they did to get into to get access to Coordinate PA. There's also going to be a video for that under your application tabs, web ticket entry basic training video. If you've watched and taken this one first before you watch and take the CPA one, you may find yourself on intercept status, where member services traditionally reviews users' first 5 submissions before transmitting that locate request. If you are on locate request, you may need to contact your liaison or member services, because when you go in to place a ticket in Coordinate PA, this create project ticket button right here will not appear. So if you're ever in CPA, see that's not there, contact your liaison, contact member services. We'll take a look, identify the issue, and we'll set you on your way. So most of all, remember, on your applications, it'll come preloaded with the CPA designer training video. Watch the quiz, get 100% on it, and you should have access to Coordinate PA the next business day. All right, so that will cover us for all of that. I will then turn it over to our next presenter. We're going to turn things over to Brandon Dumick. Brandon is one of our liaisons in the Pittsburgh area, and he will cover the ever-exciting world of 811 legal obligations in Pennsylvania for designers and project owners.
All right, Greg, thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Brandon Dumick, Damage Prevention Liaison here in Southwestern PA. And as Greg alluded to, yes, talking about briefly the ever exciting legal obligations for you project owners and designers. However, we're not going to get too deep into the weeds this morning on this. If you would like a full rundown, in-depth look at all of the obligations for you project owners, for you designers, check out one of our programs, check out one of our individual sessions, our webinars. We dive much more into detail with those. But what I want to do this morning is just look at some kind of reminders, some basic responsibilities to emphasize the importance of our project owners, of our designers when it comes to planning a project and effectively using Coordinate PA. So it's important to remember that every project has a project owner. So somebody somewhere needs something built, something constructed. So someone is in charge of all the aspects of that project. So in our sense, we talk a lot about municipalities, facility owners, putting in new facilities in the ground. So everything starts at that project owner state, and how Coordinate PA is incorporated into that is by putting that basic project information onto the application as early as you have it. So we named this episode the Trailblazing Path to Project Triumph, not just to have fun with it, not just to catch your attention, but truly your project can be a triumph, can be victorious if you're using Coordinate PA as it was intended to be used. And that all starts with putting your project information onto Coordinate PA as early as you have it. One of my best examples is I was talking to a municipality a few months ago and just explaining to them that you can put basic information onto the application before you do any kind of work, before you do any kind of tickets, any other further project information, just putting out the basic info first. So he said, you're telling me I can put on my paving schedule for the next 5 to 10 years. I said, you can put it on for the next 100 years. Just get the information out there so everyone can see it. You enhance the opportunities for everyone else in that area to collaborate with you, possibly share project timelines, project resources, costs, anything to go with it. But none of that can work unless the information's there. So please don't be afraid to use it. Get on Coordinate PA. I also want to share this with you here. So if you are familiar with our user's guide, I saw this little gem in there, which pertains directly to our project owners. So project owners are in the best position to influence damage prevention measures. When we think about and talk about damage prevention, it typically comes down to focusing on facility owners, excavators, the ones out in the field, marking lines, digging up the ground, all that stuff. But it all goes back to our project owner. Project owners not only have their own obligations when it comes to this, but they can ensure that anyone working on this project is also following, understands what their one-call obligations are as well, talking about specifically engineers and excavators later on in that project. And specifically here, just to highlight it, you control, as a project owner, the finances, the scope of the project, and the terms of that contract. So a lot of this rests in your hands. You are the foundation of these projects. So where you go from there, once you get the information onto Coordinate PA, you want to make sure you're looping in your engineer, having the appropriate conversations, not only on the scope of the work, but also project timeline. What is actually being done? Where is it being done in your area? Have the subsurface utility engineering conversation, the SUE process. This is critical for project owners, designers to talk about this early in the stage, early in the process, to make sure everyone's on the same page so the engineer knows what information they might need later on down the line, what the cost of those certain SUE levels will be, and where to fill in those gaps based on the information they're getting back from all the other SUE levels in that SUE process. So very important to have that, looping in the engineer early, getting them as a contact on that project, giving them full access to all the information, and they can begin by throwing in their design notifications. Now, turning our attention quickly to our engineers, so not to leave you guys out, but then you pick up with the information you have from your project owner. Use the preliminary design notifications, more than 90 business days out from when design will be complete. Get those preliminary tickets out there, start getting back the facility information from those facility owners, and know very early on in the process what other information you need, working your way up that SUE process so you're getting all the appropriate existing underground facility information to make the best possible plan for your project. So let me go ahead and jump back over to my obligations for our engineers, just to give you a little snapshot of these. So of course, by now, hopefully, you know, all design notifications must be submitted through Coordinate PA. So both preliminary and final design tickets on there. All the project plans being uploaded into Coordinate PA. So this is probably one of the most critical things you can do as an engineer, but providing that plan information, the drawings that you have, any and all documentation, put it into the project so those facility owners can see it, your project owner can see it, and eventually the excavator on that project has access to all of that information. Going back to the SUE stuff, as you're going through those SUE levels, the SUE process, all the information being gathered there, making sure your project owner is in the loop in that, uploading that to the project. If there's any additional contacts in that project, make sure they're on there. Hopefully you're getting the point, is that anything pertaining to the work that you are doing needs to live and exist in Coordinate PA, because then you are fully taking advantage of the features that exist for you there. Last two things, making sure when you're done as an engineer that the excavator is added as a contact again, so they have access to all this design information. They are more informed, educated going into their excavation work, and they are prepared for that complex project meeting. And speaking of complex project meetings, engineers, project owners, either you yourselves or representative is required to attend the complex project meetings with those excavators. Your expertise, your knowledge on the project is required, it's necessary, so please make sure you're using the communications tab on Coordinate PA to be looped into those meetings. Okay, so to jump us into the application, giving us a live look, we're going to go over to one of our newer liaisons, Dan the Man Nemenick. He will start you off on this journey. So let's turn it over to Dan. Let me get him up on the screen for you. And Dan, take it away.
Thank you, Brandon. I'm going to cover in a little bit of detail and highlight some of the things that Brandon was talking about by showing you in our software how to best use it. So whenever you enter into Coordinate PA, you'll see a map view and you'll see a details view. Let me share my screen so you can see what I've got going on here. All right, so I have created a project already in Coordinate PA in Harrisburg, our wonderful capital. And to make things easy, I worked on a grid area. I know that most of us in PA are not used to seeing straight grid patterned streets, but you know, we all have some crazy intersections here. But in this case, I wanted to keep it simple. And I have drawn the boundaries to this project using a polygon tool. I can measure the distance using these tools over here. I can see that my project is about 500 feet wide. And see how long it is. And about 1,200 feet long. So the first thing that you're going to want to do after you draw in your project boundaries is you would like to give the project some life. Give it a name. Indicate whether what stage you're in the whole process. So I have named this project the Front Street Gas Line Replacement. And going over to the right, there is the project owner's information. So that's my credentials here. It automatically populated. Project status I have as planning because I'm working in the design phase right now. It also has the creator next to the project so you can see who actually entered this in. Project owners and designers should be entering these projects into Coordinate PA as early as possible, but excavators can do it as well. If it gets to construction and there's nothing in Coordinate PA yet, excavators are allowed to do that, of course, encouraged to do so. The work type, I have that we are replacing a gas main. The facility type, you can select from all of these wonderful options here. I've selected gas distribution line. And going down to the timeline of your project, this is where you can communicate with all stakeholders what your timeline is. So we're saying that our preliminary design phase is from today until February 6th. So we're going to be placing our preliminary design ticket gathering information from those underground facility owners as to what's underground. And then you'll notice that that's not a required field. There's no asterisk next to it. If you don't know specifically how long your preliminary design phase is going to last, that's okay. Just put in a general time frame. However, if you are preparing drawings for construction, you have to be using a final design ticket, and this final design stage is the way to outline when you're going to be doing that. So the final design stage I've selected, that's going to be from May 20th, which is a couple months away, but we're still going to be thinking about this for the next couple months. And the design stage is going to end in mid-June. Next, we have the bid date, which is when the design is all wrapped up and you're ready to find a contractor to do the work. And finally, we have the planned construction dates. And keep in mind that these dates can change if your project shifts, if there's money that maybe didn't come through, or you got extra money and if you want to take more time on the planning stage, you can change these dates around. And all you'd have to do in order to save your changes is go down here to the box that says Save Project Changes, and it will pop up with a little screen that says Saving, and it has been saved. One final thing I want to show you on the Details tab is that you will want to either make your project public or visible to all. If you don't want to do that yet, if you just want to enter it in for yourself and maybe a few other people in your company, you don't have to select this Make Project Public. But in this case, I want to allow all facility owners who have access to Coordinate PA to be able to see this project going in, so that I have the maximum opportunity to collaborate with them. If you make the project visible to all, that would allow any contractors or anyone else who has access to Coordinate PA to see your project. So if you don't necessarily want a bidding war just yet, maybe don't make it visible to all, but that's a helpful tool. So I'll save my project changes again. And moving on, Brandon mentioned that the branch of engineering that we promote is subsurface utility engineering. And there is a tab for subsurface utility engineering documents. This is going to be the whole process you're going through to ascertain the precise location of the underground facilities. And as you can see, this is just a sample file that I have. I've got on my computer that I worked up, and I am going to upload this onto Coordinate PA now. So you go over to SUE Documents, then choose File. I have my file here, SUE Sample. Give it a description. Final design, SUE data. And I'm going to select that it's Project SUE Data Final Design. And then simply just click Upload, and you can see that this file is available for anyone who has access to see and download. Another thing that I would like to demonstrate is the contacts page, and this is very important. Nobody can really see if your project is private. Nobody can see the details of your project until you give them access. So let's say that we're moving into our construction phase and we want to give access to our excavator. I'm going to add my lovely coworker Maria White in as a contact, and I'd like to receive all communications. And I would like her to be a project editor. Just save that change, and Maria is added in. So once you actually place tickets, which I'll show you in a second, you will see a list of contacts populate on this page here, and you can use those contacts to communicate with people. So I'll show you what the tickets look like. We go over to the Tickets tab, and as a designer, I've entered in a preliminary design. Click View to show the ticket. This is what it looks like. It'll have the designer's information as well as the affected facility owners. If there are any attachments to this ticket, you can go ahead and click View Attachments there. I'll close that out. And of course, I put in final design tickets as well. So they're going to look very similar. And we have all the affected facility owners. When you are looking at responses, the facility owners can actually respond through Coordinate PA or another method, and you can see their responses by clicking on the response tab here. And that's pretty much it for the tickets. We're going to cover a little bit more in detail on how to put in a ticket when we get to the construction phase. And on that subject, I'd like to demonstrate how you can leave a note for the excavator or anybody who's involved on the project. So I'll go over to communications, and let's say I want Maria to keep me in the loop as far as when she's going to start the work, and also if she has any design questions. So I'll just leave her a note. Okay, and I can add attachments here as well if I'd like. Or if I'd like to publish this comment, just click Add Comment. It'll ask you if you want to send it. Click Yes, and the message has been sent. So at this point, I'd like to turn everything back over to our excavator, Maria White, and she's going to take us away into the construction phase and give us some great information there. So thank you all for listening, and enjoy.
Thank you, Dan. I'm Maria White. I'm the Northeast Liaison for Pennsylvania One Call, and I will be the excavator in this story. So I'm going to switch over to Coordinate PA. Now, I'm a happy excavator. The reason why is our project owner and designer set all of this up for me in Coordinate PA. So as it was mentioned, if it's not already in Coordinate PA, then you would have to create all of this yourself. But I'm lucky, it's all set up. So I go into Coordinate PA, I open it up, I can click on Search, and I can search the project by the project ID, which is 306131. Then I'll hit the word Search, and it will bring up our project over here right underneath the mapping, the Front Street gas line replacement. Now, at the bid meeting, I received all of the plans. We walked down the project. I'm in super good shape, but I still want to come in here to Coordinate PA and get familiar with it and make sure that any contacts that I need to add get added to the project. And then the first thing I want to do, once I figure out what day I want to start construction, I need to make sure that I have a complex project meeting. So this is not the tickets for actual excavating. It will be the ticket for the meeting that we're going to have prior to construction, and it needs to be placed at least 10 business days before you plan on starting your work. So a couple things first. I'm going to look at the details and just review the details of the project quickly. There's also a tab for phases. So if you have a project that is, let's say, a 100-mile transmission pipeline project, and you want to break it into phases because you have more than one contractor, you can use this phases button. In our case, it's a smaller project, but I could still do phases if I'm the excavating contractor and I have, let's say I'm going to subcontract out to 3 different companies. One's going to be doing the saw cutting and paving. One is going to be putting in the mains, and then maybe the third contractor is going to be hired to do the laterals. So I can create a phase. I'll show that to you quickly. So you click on Create a New Phase, and it asks, do you want to copy all project contacts to the new phase? And I'm going to say yes in this case. And then you need to draw your boundaries. Even though I'm using the same exact boundaries for the paving and cutting for this first phase, I still need to click on Draw New Boundaries. So I will choose Draw Polygon, and I click around the project. Usually I recommend going a little bit outside the project because it's going to clip to the correct size. And then I'm going to click OK because I'm happy with that polygon. Now it's going to tell me, The drawn geometry falls partially outside of the parent project and will be clipped. Do you want to continue with this geometry? Yes. Now I'm going to scroll down a little bit so I can fill out my paperwork, my phase information. I have a chance now to draw a new boundary, import a boundary, edit existing boundaries, or delete boundaries, but I'm pleased. We do recommend that even though this is named phase 1, that you change that or add more information so that when you come back into PA1 call or into coordinate PA, you can see which phase you're talking about. So this one would be called saw cutting. My next phase might be installing mains in my third phase. And I'm just going to show you one phase ticket for the interest of time. So I'm going to say that I'm saw cutting pavement. And I am going to default to the dates that are already placed in here, but if you want to change them, you can. Again, as Dan mentioned, if there's an asterisk, you must have something in that field. At this point, I can also add some extra contacts. So I could add a contact for the folks that will be doing the saw cutting and paving. And then I'm going to click Save Phase. Phase 1 saw cutting is saved. Would you like to create a ticket for this phase? At this point, I'm going to say no. One important thing to remember about Coordinate PA, you can use the button phases however you want to use it, but you're not required to do phases. So it's really up to you. Now I'm going to return back to the project because I want to show you how to put in your complex project meeting ticket. I'll go back under the tab that says tickets. And I do want to diverse just a little bit here. Under contacts, please make sure that you have everybody under contacts, as Brandon and Dan both alluded to. Everyone that you need to communicate with needs to be put under the contacts tab so that you can communicate with them. Dan showed us how to do a communication, but you'll need to communicate with the folks that are not. Let's say this, when you put in your complex project meeting ticket, it's going to go to the primary receivers of each of the facility owners. So you need to add anybody else that would not normally be receiving a notification from PA1 call. It might be a land agent that needs to be at the meeting. It might be your designer. It might be your project owner. Anybody that's not in that list already needs to be listed in contacts and communicated with about the meeting that we're getting ready to schedule. So I'm under tickets. I can take a look at what's already existing in there, the preliminary designs and final designs, and I want to create a project ticket. This is our meeting ticket. It's still going to be called excavation, even though it's not a ticket that you can dig on. That's just the ticket type. The ticket class is the complex project meeting itself. So let's go ahead and create the complex project meeting ticket. This is an important step. The project status is currently planning. Do you want to change the status in progress after the ticket is submitted? Yes, we do. So Dan mentioned that he was in the planning stage. I'm in the in progress stage. And I'll mention this again later, but when your project is all done, you want the status to be complete or inactive so that the mapping will come off of our system and not block it all up with a bunch of projects. So I'm loading my ticket information. Now we could take a look at the mapping again. As Dan mentioned, we'll be working on North Front Street between Emerald and Maclay, and we've also got some other streets in there to consider. At this point, I can schedule the ticket for future release. If you click on this button, you're able to schedule the ticket to be released later, but at this point, I just want to get the project going, so I'm not going to release it at a later date. I want to get it out there now, 10 days in advance of when we'd like to start. So my streets, I need to put in some streets here. I can do Penn Street, Maclay Street, and North Front Street. Street number 4 does not have an asterisk, so I can skip that one if I like. If you have any coordinates to add, this is where you would want to add coordinates. Marked in white, we always mark in white. So I'm going to put marked in white And in this case, we're not in a subdivision, so I don't need to click that. But if you do ever click in a subdivision, you need to know the name of the subdivision. And then other location information. When we look at our map, we can see that we are on the east side of Riverfront Park. So any extra information that you want to put in here is great. And our type of work is replacing gas main. The depth, I'll put 4 feet. And Dan had told us the extent of the excavation. It was 500 feet by 1,200 feet. But for the footage for this ticket, let's just say it's 3,750 feet. And the method of excavation is going to be digging, and the equipment type will be an excavator. We're working in the street, in the sidewalk, and on public property. If you ever click on private property, it's going to give you some more choices of front, rear, side, left, some other choices, let's just put it that way. And then you can select what part of the property you're on, whether it's the front, the rear, or the side. And then our lawful start date, this would be the earliest lawful start date, 10 business days from the date we're putting this meeting ticket in. Your work duration, I'll say three months. Proposed meeting date. Now this drop down will give you the earliest date that you can have the meeting based on when you put this ticket in. So I'm picking Monday, January 22nd. And the meeting time, just be a little thoughtful about the time that you have the meeting, especially if you have facility owners that need to drive an hour or two to get there and very busy line locating people. So maybe let's do a 10 o'clock a.m. meeting. And I'd like to meet in person. In this case, I think we really need to walk the site. So the meeting location, this is important. If you have a physical address, great. If you don't, at least pin it down the best you can. So in this case, I'm going to say that we are going to meet at there's a parking area. Just want to double check on my map. It's right at the end of Woodbine Street at Riverfront Park. Parking area, Woodbine Street at the Riverfront Park. Hopefully that's good enough information for them. They're going to see a bunch of vehicles there. And double check anything that's populated on the ticket to make sure it's correct. If you have a job number, you're the excavator, your project owner might have gave you a job number that they want to associate with this project because they're doing lots of capital improvement projects and they want to keep this one square. And then if you did have to get any PennDOT permits, you need to put the PennDOT permit number in that spot. And then final remarks, do not block any residential driveways. Anything you want to add in there for the folks coming to your meeting. You can also add attachments to your ticket if there's any pictures, drawings, extra things you want to show to the group that's being invited. And then you'll click on Create Ticket. It generates the map. It's going to give you a temporary reference number that you can write down if you want, but trust me, you'll get an email with the ticket that you created. And then this is our ticket number, our serial number, 2024-017-6001. So if you do want to search this project in the future, you can use either a ticket number or the project ID number to find the project and coordinate PA at a later time. So now I am going to click OK. And so I think that was the last step. Oh, but wait. Oh, there's one more critical thing I forgot to tell you.
We interrupt this liaison library to bring you
You really need to start scoring on the power play. I have no idea what gives. Oh, hey, wait. Hey, hang on for a minute. I gotta go do this liaison thing. Okay. Hi. I wanted to tell you about a complex project meeting that I recently attended that had a little bit of a hiccup to it. I put the information from the ticket into my GPS, and I arrived at the site where my GPS took me based on that ticket information. I landed at a gravel parking area where I found some other trucks. I figured, hey, they're with my project. I go out, I introduce myself, and they're confused because they had no idea what I was talking to. Pulled out my ticket again, and I contacted the excavator using the information he provided on the ticket. He told me he wasn't sure why I was lost because he used Google Maps for his GPS, and it took him right to the office location with no issues. He then gave me another address, which I then put into my GPS and traveled to. Once I got there, it took me right to the location. I spoke with everybody, and I got caught up on what I missed. Why do I bring this up? Several important pieces of information here to take away from this experience. Always remember that the information that is input onto the meeting ticket is the information that gives everybody information on how to get to the meeting. If you want your facility owners and your designers to attend, they need to know where they're going to. A good rule of thumb here to use, please provide as much detail as you would for your meeting location as you would on your ticket. Things like Main Street may be a little bit harder to find than 123 Main Street, with a clear description of using terms like front, rear, side, in a parking lot, in the building next to the parking lot. Don't always assume someone will use the same GPS as you. Like I said, providing as much detail as possible makes sure the location is very easy to find. Another important piece of information to include for your meeting is your contact information. If a person is unable to find the meeting location, they may need to contact you, just like I did. Make sure that information is in there, is the one where you can actually be reached. And another good rule of thumb, make sure your voicemail is cleared out so that if I need to leave you a message saying, hey, I don't know where to go, you get that message. Okay, so where were we? Yeah,
This
I know.
has been
I don't exactly.
We will now return you to the Liaison Library.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kirk Kirkpatrick. I'm the Northwest Damage Prevention Liaison for Pennsylvania One Call. And we're going to talk about the complex project meeting itself and what all is going to entail there. So we're going to get right into this here. Oh, wrong screen. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay, so when you get out to the jobs or to the complex project meeting, you're going to want to make sure that you have, first off, invited the facility or the project owner and the designer to the meeting. The reason why we emphasize doing that, because they are not typically on the one call invite for the complex project meeting. So you need to invite the project owner and the designer to the meeting and make sure that they know when and where there is. Just like you saw, Dan asked Maria to let them know. This is why you want to make sure that they can be there. If there's any design questions that people are asking, they can talk about it with the designer there. If the project owner is there, people can ask dollar questions for if they have anything about that. So it's good to have them at the project. When you go out to the project, you're also going to need to have yourself a sign-in sheet to make sure you know who all attended the meeting, and a notes. You need to be able to take minutes of what's going on at the project. Now, you're going, wait a minute, I got to create all this stuff. Nope, hold on. Let me get you back to this. Go to our website. That's why I have this up here. It's on our website, pa1call.org. Right here is some important information. You got facility owner, excavators, designers, homeowners. We're going to grab, because we're the excavator, we're going to grab the excavator section of it. You can see this comes up and there's a whole list of things here. You got submit a locate request, user's guide, so on and so forth. What we want to get into right now is called complex projects. We're doing a complex project. We need to get into that. What's going to happen when you click on that, it's going to bring up a list of PDFs that are available for you. You got the flow chart, you've got meeting notes, sign-in sheet, complex project policy, got a brochure, so on. You can see all that stuff is there. So first thing we want to look at is you want the meeting sign-in sheet. I mentioned that first. We want to make sure that we have a sign-in sheet. When you do that, it's going to pop up here, and you can click on that and it'll come up here. Now, this is a PDF. It's printable. Please use this if you want to. If you want to create your own, okay. But the information you really want to have on there is the date, notes prepared by, complex project number, and the people that all attended. Here's important information you're probably going to want to have available to you. So you also notice that these are blued out a little bit, so you can put in the information, pre-populate the information. You can do that, and you can also put in, like, you're going to be there, you can, and so on, put your name, company, all that kind of information. You can put all that in there before you print it out. That way it's already pre-populated for you. If you've got a few other people that are going to be there, that you already know that are going to be there from your company or from the designer or the project owner, put them in there. And when they get there, all they got to do is initial it, or if they can just fill in the information that you didn't put in for them. So you're going to want to have that available, and then you're going to do meeting notes. Now, again, meeting notes, you're going to grab this here, and you can do the same thing here. At the meeting, you really want to talk about the entire scope of the project. So talk about how you're doing. As Maria was talking about, we're going to do phases. Maria and I had already talked, and we're going to do the saw cutting phase, the entire project. Then we're going to do the mainline phase, putting mainline all the way through and making sure that we get it all pressurized and everything ready to go. And then we're going to do the laterals so that we don't have people without gas for more than the amount of time it is to hook up a new lateral. So especially if we're going to be starting this time of year, like if we were working this week here, it's really cold. I mean, January 17th, it's cold right now. So we want to make sure we don't cut people out of gas for too long. So we want to talk about the scope of the project, everything that we're planning on doing, how we're planning on doing it. Are we starting at Riverfront Park, or are we starting over at Penn Street? How, where we're planning on actually starting to allow the locators to get ahead of us. And then we want to talk about the mark-out agreements. Now, this is very important. At the complex project meeting, you can determine if everybody agrees to make one ticket for the entire phase. So for that saw cutting phase, you can make one ticket if everybody agrees to it. Now at the meeting, they may say, all right, you can do one ticket, but we're going to need 5 business days to locate that. If everybody agrees to it, that's your parameters for this project. If they say, well, no, we need to break it down a little bit smaller because we really got a lot of things going on in there. So maybe break it in half. Each phase, break it in half for your dig tickets. So you can do the top 2 tickets or top 2 blocks first, or split it up however you determine and go with it that way. That's another way. And if you did any quick math looking at the project area, if you had to do these all individually ticketed for each phase, you would need 6 individual locate requests. But because we're in a complex project, if everybody agrees, you can cut this down to 3, 1 for each phase. So there's some things to look at with this. Once you get all this information, you're going to go through all the agreements and you're going to mark it out. You're also going to come up with some non-agreement areas that people are saying, well, in this area, we got to do this. At that point, you've got to go to in the normal one-call ticket length, which, as you can see written up here, is 1,000 feet or intersection to intersection, whichever is greater, along one street in one municipality. That's the parameters of a single locate request. Now, the other things you may come up with when you're talking about your mark-out agreements, or even up here in the scope of the ticket, you might find that in this area, in Harrisburg, the water company says, we've got a critical line that runs through here that we can't have disturbed. So I need to be on site whenever you're working near this line. Write that down, jot down who you need to contact whenever you're working near this, so on and so forth. So you have that all documented. After the meeting, after you're done there, you need to take this back into the office and go talk and go set up, put it in, you know, either give it to Maria to put it into the Coordinate PA, or you can go into it and do it yourself. Now, I went through already, like Maria showed you, you can search and do that. You can find the ticket, or the project itself. Here's what we're looking at. We're going to start looking at getting into here. Now, she already did the tickets. She's going to do the actual dig tickets itself, but she says you got all the information in your head as far as how all the communications and everything works. So you're going to want to go in here and go into tickets and look at the complex project that she created and go to agreements. Why do we go there? Well, because here you can see the information that we had put in there, but you can add all the attendees in here, as you saw Maria do before, and put everybody in there. You know, now keep in mind, like was mentioned, once you make a one-call ticket, like the complex project ticket, all the facility owners are going to be listed here, and it's going to be the company receivers and company reps that'll be listed here. But say a contract locator company isn't listed here, you want to add them in there so they have access to this. Or say Joe, who does the locating for Harrisburg City, isn't on the list, but you have his contact information, put him in here, and so on. You want to make sure you add all the people that showed up to the meeting into this list. Now, you may have a damage prevention liaison show up to your project. Most of the time, you do not have to add your damage prevention liaison in there. If we need to look at the information, we have access to gain it to look at these things. All right, so you want to add in your attendees. You want to talk about your notes, any special notes that you guys took at the meetings. You want to add those down there, like that would be the critical line thing, the you know, somebody has too much work in that area and so on. You want to add those notes in here, and then you want to add in the agreements. Now, both the notes and the agreements have this download meeting template. So here's another trick. If you can't remember where I showed you to get the meeting notes and attendees, come into here after the complex project is made, hit agreements, and go to this download meeting notes. When you click on this, it's going to populate up here, and we're going to grab this one here, is the one that we're working on today. Did I get it? There it goes. All right. And lo and behold, all this information is already populated in here, including this information that was put on the ticket. Project owner, you've got all the attendee information that you can put in there. Project phases, meeting notes, agreements. Yes, you can print this out also. So there are a couple different ways of doing this. So make sure, as was said, or as I said, is get all this information so that you can document it. Now, when you get back, make sure you put all this information. You can even scan in these documents that you have handwritten and put them in there so people can see that you didn't just make things up. This was the agreements that everybody came up with. So you want to put all that information in here and do that and put it into Coordinate PA. We talked about adding in your SUE documents. We talked about adding in your the drawings themselves, anything else. You also want to add in as-built. As the project, you know, as you get through certain areas, do as-built, add them in here. This is a good repository to keep all that information in here. Once we get all this information in here from the meeting itself, as I said, Maria is going to go back in here and do the tickets themselves. So then we turn it back over to Maria, and she's going to have a great time at doing this. Back to you, Maria.
Thank you, Kirk. You made it easy for me. So now it's super easy. All I need to do is go back into Coordinate PA and put in the excavation notifications as they were agreed to at the meeting. So we'll take a look here at Coordinate PA. I've already searched the project and opened it up. So I just need to go under the Tickets tab and place the tickets that were agreed to. And I'm going to say at the meeting and on the notes, we decided that we were going to do one excavation notice for the first half of it up here between Emerald Street, Penn, Woodbine, and a second notification for Woodbine down to Maclay. So I will go ahead and hit create project ticket, and just notice all of our other tickets are in the ticket tab. So I'm going to create a project ticket. So you also, whenever you're asked to associate tickets with the project, please do so. That way we can keep everything in a nice, neat area. So now you are making the excavation dig ticket notice, construction routine, and create ticket. So a very important thing to remember is you need to update the ticket geometry. If I put a ticket in right now without updating the geometry, then I'm putting in a notification for the whole area, and that was not what was agreed to by the group. I had a real life situation where a ticket was put in for a 16-mile fiber project, and that was definitely not what was agreed to. So please be careful of that. You can schedule the tickets for future release, but in this case, I'm not going to. My work site, I'll just put Front Street. The nearest intersection, Emerald. You can add a second intersection if you like, and you can also click on working between intersections or working at the intersection or in a subdivision. Again, if you have any coordinates, you can place the coordinates here on this part of the ticket, and the location information is going to be, and let's see, I just already messed up. Update my ticket geometry. Just got done scolding everybody for that. So update your ticket geometry because I'm only doing this ticket for the top part of the project. So I'm going to draw a polygon. I will click at each of the edges of this part of the project. So this is the first ticket. I'm just going to show you one ticket because you place them both the same way. So that's the first ticket. Click OK because I'm good with the boundaries. Again, I didn't perfectly draw it in, but the program will cut out the extra, it'll clip off the extra pieces that I added on. So there's a perfect area for me to work with. I'm going to save and return to the ticket. So this is our first notification that we agreed to make. Location, you can put whatever you like in here, Front Street, east side of the park, whatever you like. Replacing the gas main at 4 feet again. The extent, since it's only half of that 3750, I'll just put 2,000 feet. Method is going to be digging. Equipment type is excavator. And again, I'm working in the street, in the sidewalk, and on public property. The scheduled excavation date, it'll give you a drop down of the earliest excavation dates. And then your dig time, we better place it at 8 o'clock. And our excavation date will populate, and so will our dig time. Our work duration will be 1.5 months, since that's half of the project. And everything else will populate in there. And then any PennDOT permits, your project number populates. Any remarks that you want to add go here. And then you can also do attachments. I know I'm speaking pretty quickly, but the rest of my coworkers covered a lot of this quite a bit. But I just wanted to show you that you can place this ticket. It'll generate the map, and it'll tell you not to close the browser, and then it will send you an email with the ticket information. So you get a temporary reference number, and then you'll get a ticket that has the serial number beginning with 2024. So this is the serial number in the ticket. It tells me when I can begin excavation. I need to start my excavation 3 to 10 business days. It'll tell you right on the notification, and then your facility owners need to respond to those notifications with a final response the night before the excavation. So then I can click OK. And also just please remember to come back to the project when you're done with restoration and all of the work you're going to do. Make sure you come back into your Coordinate PA project go under details, project status, and make sure that you make the project complete or inactive. Otherwise, our system is not going to know when you're done with construction. So you will have so many drawings in Coordinate PA, thousands of them. So if you could please go back and do that final step. And now I will go back to Kirk. I'm sorry, I'll go back to Kevin.
Thank you, Maria, and all of the damage prevention liaisons for your very informative presentations today on CPA. Here you can see the list of liaisons on our map. If you have any further questions, please write down their number. You can see exactly where they're located and give them a call anytime, whether it's just to ask a question or give a presentation to you. Those are always free. We'll come out to you. We can do it online for you, whatever you need. Now, like I said in the beginning of the program, we would like to open the floor to some of your questions. And what we're going to do is please type them in the chat room. I already see a couple in there that we're going to go ahead and call on the different liaisons today to answer your questions. So again, type them in the chat room. I'll see them, and then we'll go ahead and move forward with that. So the first question that I see here it looks like design tickets responses versus excavating ticket responses. There are times that we need utility responses for months prior to excavating. And it follows up here. In other words, we aren't getting utility responses on design tickets. How do I get design responses? Who here would like to go ahead and answer that one? All right, looks like we have Maria. So go ahead, Maria.
Okay, so what I think you're asking, because I get this question at least once a week, is on your design tickets, the facility owners are not going to be required to mark out their facilities. So if you aren't receiving any plans at all within those 10 business days, then you can contact your local liaison. We can give you some contact information to reach somebody to get those plans. But if you're expecting the facility owner to come out and mark their facilities on a design ticket, that's not going to occur. And if anybody else wants to add something, that'd be great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Maria. All right. Thank you, Maria. And now the next question I see here is, if the person who initially entered the information into the project is no longer with the company, how do you switch the project to a new person? Who would like to answer that one? All right, Marcos, I see your hands up, so go ahead and take it.
That's real quick. We can manually add that. So if you have somebody that's left the company, we can add you as an administrator on the project. You just let us know. We can take care of that for you.
All right. Thank you very much, Marcos. The next question I have here is what is the difference between complete and inactive when closing out a project? And I see that Kirk is ready to answer that question. So let's move on over to Kirk.
All right. So complete means that you're done with the project. The project is done. You've already done all the restoration, everything. That's the easy word. Inactive means that you might be that the designer designed the project. It was the process. The project owner set the designer to do the designs, and they got the information back, and then all of a sudden the money dried up. So now it's an inactive project, or it got to the bid phase and the bids were way too high. So now they got to go back to the drawing board and rethink the whole project. So now it's going to be an inactive project. Or even, those are the kind of things. So inactive means some part of the project has started and it needs to be stopped for now due to various different reasons, so that's inactive, whereas complete means the job is done.
Thank you very much, Kirk, for that answer. And I see another question in here. And again, we have some time for more questions. Throw them into the box there if you have anything. Next question, well, it says, great presentation, so thank you very much. Is this video available somewhere, and will there be a link? And I see Greg has his hand up, and he's ready to answer that question. Go ahead, Greg.
Oh yeah, I'm ready with this one. So we typically don't make our presentations available after the fact, but all liaison libraries are uploaded onto our YouTube channel. I just put a link to that in our meeting chat. Hopefully you guys can see that. I will also put it in the answer under your Q&A. So you'll be able to find all of our liaison libraries. This is actually just had it up. This is the 8th one. So you can view 1 through 7 now, and episode 8 should be on our YouTube channel probably within the next 5 business days.
All right. Thank you very much, Greg, and thank you for posting that link. And it looks like we do have another question here. It says here, if you have a person that left the company, can you have them removed from receiving communications? All right, Kirk, go ahead with that one.
Actually, you can remove them yourself. You can go into that complex project and remove the different people that are gone. Now, if you had people listed in under your company, you can also let us know, contact our member services, and they can individually remove people from having access to things in your company. So, but if you're talking about just the project itself, yes, you can go in there and remove them yourself.
Okay, Kirk, thank you very much for that answer there. Looks like we have another question that popped up here. And for this one, is it the contractor or owner who schedules the complex project meeting? And we have Dan, let's go ahead and get the answer from you.
Typically, the contractor will be the one scheduling the meeting, but it should be in conjunction with the project owner too. And if you have access to the project, you can create a ticket if you're an administrator. So, but typically it is the contractor.
All right, these are all great questions so far. Keep them coming. The next question that we have for you all is for design tickets. Can we request utility owners to mark their facilities in the field? Who'd like to respond to that question? Oh, Maria has her hand up. Maria, take it away.
Thank you. You can request on the ticket for the facility owners to mark their facilities, but they are not required to do so. So if if you have a good relationship with your facility owners, maybe they'll do you a favor, but again, they're not required to by law. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Maria. That was a great answer. Next question that I have here is, does everyone assigned to be an excavator need to be a member of PA 811, or will they be assigned under the project owner? Who would like to take that question? All right, we have Greg. So Greg, take it away.
If I'm understanding the question correctly, it would be if you were to add a contact who didn't have a membership with Pennsylvania One Call to the project. When you add them to the project, you can add their name and their email. We're also going to send that email link over for them to register for an account. They will need an account to be able to view and contribute to that project. But if you add somebody who doesn't actively have an account, they will also get the link from us to register with PA One Call.
Okay, thank you very much, Greg. Let's see here. I got a couple more that showed up here. So let's see what we got here now. This is a comment. As part of SUE, we will dig test pits and then have to field mark their locations. So that's just a comment. But now it's in the question here. It says, is the contractor required to upload the meeting sign-in sheets and agreements? And what happens if they don't do that? That's a great question. Who wants to take that one? Anyone? Greg, we got you again. Go ahead, Greg.
Sure, why not? So if the contractor doesn't upload any meeting notes or sign-in sheet to the one-call portal, if there is any kind of a strike, one of the first things the Public Utility Commission's investigative team is going to ask for is where is that documentation? As far as if they don't upload it, is anybody coming after them every time to make them? No, not necessarily. So if you're noticing that your contractor isn't uploading those things, have a conversation with them or talk to your liaison, because that is something the excavator should be doing, is required to do. They need to provide that documentation. But generally speaking, if they don't and there's no hit and the project otherwise goes off without a hitch, no one's coming looking for that. So that's something that if you notice that as repeat behavior from an excavator, please make us aware. And usually it's just giving them a call. Hey, did you know you needed to upload this as well? And they go, oh, I had no idea. So that's what I would recommend. Just let the liaison team know or give that excavator a call and ask them to include that documentation in the project.
All right. Thank you for that, Greg. And it does not look like I have any more questions in the queue right now. So thank you for all your great questions today. I hope we answered everything you have. And of course, if we didn't, you know where to find us. The liaison map is online. So I also wanted to remind everyone about our 2024 Safety Days. Pennsylvania 811 is dedicated to providing the highest quality education in damage prevention and excavation safety, and we're committed to bring the industry together by offering 5 conferences across the Commonwealth with a consistent education track. We're going to provide a full day of education where experts in their fields can share their knowledge and experiences with attendees. The dates and the locations of the safety days are, so if you want to jot this down, or you can find this on our website, Oaks is going to be on May 7th, Wilkes-Barre on May 16th, York on June 13th, Erie September 17th, and finally Monroeville is September 19th. And you can go ahead and register right now on our website at pa1call.org. We're also taking exhibitors if you're interested in exhibiting. Also, if you're interested in any of our spring programs, they're all up on our website too, either for the excavator, locator, or designer. And all you have to do is go to pa1call.org and click on that events tab, and you can sign up starting now. All right, so again, if you have any further questions, please contact your local liaison. And I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. Be safe, if you're out there on the roads especially, and please dig safely.